Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Reference Point. I'm your host, Dave Cokerhook. And in today's show, it's the second of a set of two that we're talking with Les Wolff from Smart Marketing Group to really look at the areas of marketing activity that are going to be very relevant for a lot of our small businesses here in Northern California. We've got a lot of entrepreneurs here and a lot of people with all kinds of different ideas and different types of business activity. One of the things I'm going to take us back to something we did last show, which was identify Les's 4 principles of smart marketing, and I'm going to just read them here real quick, and then we're going to get back to this gentleman and have him expound some more. The 4 principles of smart marketing: be open to change, which is a real key one because people tend to be very resistant to change, but be open to change is the first one. Second one is to think big, because big ideas have more potential and they can be trimmed down, but small ideas don't lend themselves to growth. Third principle is to think wild, to think outside the box, because that's what helps you get those big ideas. And the fourth principle is don't talk about it, do it. Doesn't do you a lot of good just to be thinking, having these ideas in your head. You got to get out there and take some action. So Les, welcome back to Reference Point. Pleasure to have you here, and thank you for bringing us these 4 principles of smart marketing.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm enjoying this.
Well, good. I'm enjoying it too. Hey, listen, I wanted to get into some conversation about businesses. Maybe you could, as we go through this conversation, you might be some specific examples that you could allude to that would highlight a point to a particular type of action as an example and whatever. And I want to kind of have us consider the average small business, and because these guys have limited budgets and things, and still they need to do marketing and advertising for their products and services and whatever. And really, I guess the key thing comes down to what can a business owner do with a limited budget to take advantage of the 4 principles of smart marketing?
Well, the key is, let's take that first thing, open-mindedness. It is key. And I tried to point out as examples, you don't have to be a small business to understand the value of being open-minded. My 3 favorite stories relate to Xerox that invented the personal computer but couldn't convince their management they had something. So they invited Bill Gates and Steve Jobs in to look at it. IBM, who didn't think there was a business in the software field. And IBM also, who turned down Xerox because they didn't think anybody in the world would want to make a copy of a document. That's what I mean by being open-minded. Because don't fence yourself in. Keep your mind open. And as we said in the previous show that we did, talk to your customers. Talk to the people you do business with. You can learn a lot from them. Asking questions and listening to the answers.
And this does, what you're talking about here doesn't just apply here in where I am. I'm in Silicon Valley, and so we have a lot of high-tech companies. But these concepts don't apply just to that. I mean, we've got your auto repair people, the guy that takes care of the trimming the trees, the folks that where you go buy your suits, whatever it happens to be. There's what you're suggesting here is that in any activity, any endeavor from a business perspective, you have the opportunity to take advantage of these principles. You just need to do it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's what I call the PI factor that is often overlooked, and that is the personal interaction that you have with your customer, especially as a small business. You know, in a big business, you may have different levels of employees separating management from the customer. In a small business, you are management talking to the customer.
Right.
And what is your personal interaction rating? I mean, are you easy to talk to? Are you easy to do business with? Now, people like to be treated well. Yes. And they also like to, a lot of people are hesitant to ask questions, hesitant to create complaints. But I think it was Sam Walton who once said, people vote with their feet.
Yeah.
They can walk out with the dollars.
Right.
So as I said, are you someone that people want to do business with?
See, I think you just hit a key point.
Yourself.
I think you just hit a key point there, which is that a lot of times the customer is not necessarily going to volunteer information.
Absolutely.
You have to provide, as a business owner, you need to provide and create a safe enough space so that if you ask them a question, they're going to be comfortable in answering that question, which is obviously going to help you, because the more you know about or what people like or don't like about your business, the layout of your store, the way your people dress, the music that's playing, whatever it happens to be, those are the things that are going to help you help your business.
Absolutely. I mean, a very simple idea. You've heard, obviously, big businesses do focus groups.
Right.
How about once a month you invite 6 of your customers in for donuts and coffee?
Oh, what a great idea.
And just to talk. I mean, can you afford to spend $20?
You know, that's an interesting idea.
Really,
That's a big idea on a small budget.
and that there are a lot of big ideas in a small budget. You know, part of our advisory services that we talk to people is really to force them to think, to be proactive instead of reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a world of difference if you are leading your customer in the way that you interact with them in a very positive manner.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
And also there is, when I use the term positive, brings up another point. It does no good to dwell on negative things because nothing gets accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw a quote the other day that said, you know, I don't remember the exact wording, but basically the point was they don't waste their time on regrets. Regrets are lessons.
Regrets are lessons.
You
But-
move forward.
I think within the context of that, let's kind of like put some some flesh on that bone. Things can happen in a business situation. The product that the customer purchased doesn't work right. Guy comes into your place of business and he picks up something, he picks up a glass and the glass breaks and he cuts his hand. Those are negative things that can happen. The question is, how do you respond to them? The market shifts. You lose, something happens to a supplier or something, so you can't get product. These things are negative things. The question is, are you dwelling on it, or are you taking it as an opportunity to find another way to interact favorably with your customer? Is that the point?
That's well phrased. That's exactly. Whatever actions take place, positive or negative, you look for the positive aspect and you look from your customer's perspective. That's why it's so important to talk to customers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just utterly amazed. And if you have salespeople, they should be, building into their regular routine, asking questions. And if you do want to use email, how about a survey?
Mm-hmm.
Go out to your customer base. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Because a good business owner wants to know what is the customer's perspective.
Right.
How do they view them?
Here
it's just key.
The things that we're talking about, and I asked this question at the last show about to what degree do some of these concepts apply to the small business, and you said, look, they apply to all businesses. Here all across the country, we have a lot of companies, a lot of business owners that are looking to interact with foreign partners, either as suppliers or distributors or customers or whatever. So there can be an international flavor of activity. And the things that we're talking about here are easily scalable to an international playing field, are they not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, one of the things I've learned, in particular in dealing with people, business clients and clients' customers in, for example, the Asian market, courtesy it's amazing how it impacts in the Japanese or the Chinese market because of the culture.
Right.
if you've dealt with the Japanese, for example, you know that one of the key things is they appreciate having a business card. They all carry their card. It is their form of breaking the ice.
Right. Right.
And again, there comes a perfect opportunity to sit and talk to somebody who may be steeped in a particular culture and try to learn from that. What are the things that, that turn on the happy button, that make people pleased that you dealt with them?
That goes to that thing about asking questions of your customers or prospective customers so that you can get some feedback. Because if you are not yourself, have not had a huge amount of experience with a particular culture, you're not sure what those hot buttons might be, what the thing that's going to make them real happy is. So that is a key point. I want to ask another question here, Les, about businesses. One of the, you and I had some conversation, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this show, regarding when a business, guys having and our gals having an idea, they want to put a business together and that sort of thing. How critical are things like the name of the business? And another thing that you mentioned when you were talking about communicating about your business was a tagline. So I want to talk about the name of a business. Let's take that first. How critical, because you get some really weird names of businesses out there.
You're being mild. It's a mild understatement. No, I tell people that there's a test I tell them to take. Go back to the business card file, and I think they will find 7 out of 10 of the cards there, if they didn't remember who the person was, they'd have no idea what business they're in. If a company's called Quark, well, what is Quark?
Right.
Is that a duck with a problem? I mean, I don't know. He can't quack, he quarks. But the fact is, it's key to have your name reflect. My company, Smart Marketing Group. Geez, I think you can figure out what business we're in.
Yeah.
All right. And our tagline is helping people work smarter. So the key to it is a tagline helps you define in the customer's mind what business you're in or what benefit can be gained. And it's extremely important. If your name doesn't spell out in some way with clarity what the business is you're in, the tagline should. And if you do have a good name, the tagline reinforces what you do.
Got it. So
there is a marketing website. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but basically they have questions all the time, marketing questions. 75% of the questions that come up relate to my business name, a tagline.
Interesting.
So it is something that people are very interested in. We've even added at our website a name and tagline division.
Oh, okay. It would seem that that's the sort of thing that you can use extensively. The combination of the name tagline, it's on your cards, it's on all your literature, it's on the receipts that you give people when they have purchased, it's when somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? It's just like it's got all those kinds of elements that is a very efficient, effective, and no cost virtually way of marketing.
Well, you may, in some sense, it could be viewed as the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
The thing that allows you to tell in 30 seconds or less what your business is about. In fact, there was Toastmasters that I used to belong to for years in New York. They had where you had to be able to explain your business in 5 words or less.
Oh, wow.
That would be an interesting test for a lot of people to try.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, in 5 words or less. That's pretty good.
We are help people outsmart their competition, 5 words.
There you go. So,
yeah, so
you had mentioned that, what was it you told me earlier when between shows, you were saying something about through your LinkedIn section? Your company has a link
Yeah.
where people can
What
ask
we have is
questions and stuff about this sort of
we
thing?
have we have two LinkedIn groups. I got involved in LinkedIn because I like the fact that you could have discussions and people could put questions up. Other people could come to that LinkedIn group and respond to those questions.
Uh-huh.
You got different perspectives, different viewpoints. You gain more knowledge. So we set one up called Smart Marketing for Small Business and one called Creative Thinkers Forum.
Okay.
And the idea is that you can come up, you can ask questions that people respond to, or you can come up and respond to questions that are up there. The idea is this interchange between business people that can help each other.
Try to stimulate the gray matter a little bit. That's good.
Absolutely. Well, it's also the fact that when you're running a business, especially as a small business person, when someone says, "Oh, I'm tired. I had a hard day, 9 to 5," and you're going, "That's my lunchtime."
You're right. Yeah.
An 18-hour day. There's a wonderful definition of an entrepreneur: someone who doesn't want to work 40 hours a week for someone else, or work 80 to 120 hours a week for themselves.
For themselves, exactly. We've done a lot of discussion here in these two segments that are fairly theoretical. We talked about the principles and things like that. I was wondering if I could impose on you to give us a couple of examples, real world examples of how a business owner may have employed one or more of these principles in a particular situation. We don't have to, we can't name names, I understand, but the concepts about things and what they did, the kind of environment they were in, and what that did for them. I think that would be useful for our viewing audience to give them that feel for actual success.
Well, I've had companies in the business to business as well as the business to consumer area where we focused on, through a thing we call advisory services, to look very closely at how is their interaction with their customers. And many of them, as we sat and we looked at those companies, we realized, for example, I'll give you an example of one of all things, a medical practice.
Okay.
And believe me, they need marketing help as well. Was nobody in the office smiled. And they were kind of dull when they answered the phone. So we sat down, we had a discussion with the employees, we asked for their ideas, we didn't dictate to them, we asked for their ideas, and we made a partnership mentality, an attitude, and they all bought into it. And that could be translated into any business.
And did that have a positive impact on the practice?
Oh, it had a tremendous impact. He got a lot more referral business because people were so happy with that.
Right.
And that process can be translated into almost any business at all. Let me see. One of the things that I think was kind of a strange business for me to get involved in. I had mentioned in the earlier show that I had been, for the last 8 years of his life, Smoking Joe Frazier's business manager.
Right.
And my knowledge of boxing was limited to a boxer who grew up in my town called Jersey Joe Walcott, which most of this audience is too young to have any idea who Jersey Joe was. But I knew nothing about boxing. But what we did is we looked at we examined what was Joe's appeal to people. We identified certain characteristics of his personality. We defined certain aspects of his record, so to speak, his business record.
Right.
And we were able to custom create programs built around the pluses of what those programs were. For example, one of the things that we talked about was when we would have sponsors hire Joe to go out and talk to young people.
Right.
And one of the things was something he came up with. I'd like to say we came up with it, but he had a mantra. And his mantra was, There is no right way to do wrong. There is no wrong way to do right. But it became a wonderful basis to create a discussion with young people.
Mm.
And, and then we reproduced that with his name attached to it in T-shirts and things that, the sponsor could give away.
It's a great tagline.
So, tagline,
Yeah.
You got it. Absolutely. So there are no ends to the way, as I said, people look at their business, and that is in a sense something they don't do often enough, is they don't evaluate their business. They need to look at it, get that fresh viewpoint. And I know I'm somewhat redundant about the point of asking questions and listening to people, but you get tremendous insight from your customers and your vendors. So that's extremely helpful.
One of the things I'm taking away from our conversation in these two shows is that there is no lack of avenue of approach that a business owner can take. But that in and of itself can be a trap, it seems to me, because when you have so many different paths that you could take, you try to go down all of them, you're going to stretch yourself so thin, you're not going to, the potential of not being able to accomplish very much. So is that a realistic concern, and how does somebody address that?
What you do, it's a very realistic concern. What you do is that you look at what is the strategy you want to develop. Can you break it into phases, into segments? Can you put them in priority as to their level of importance? And then take that little chunk and work on that little chunk. And when you've gotten that, fairly well done, you can go to the next segment.
How do you assess the level of importance? What are some of the things that one might look at to determine which of these steps are, these possibilities has a higher level of importance at this stage of my company's development?
I think the question is, how does it impact your bottom line? Is it going to generate more revenue? Is it going to get referrals for more business? Is it going to get you more exposure in a positive way? What are the benefits that you are going to gain, the measurable benefits that you're going to gain that will affect your bottom line? That's where you have to focus first. Mm-hmm. It's nice to be wonderful and polite and everything else, as I've talked about, but it's more important that it is done in a way that enhances your bottom line. Mm-hmm. Customers stay with you. Customers bring more customers to you. Customers spend more with you. These are the things that you need to do. And you're right. You can spread yourself far too thin.
Right. And then you can, if that, whatever was the higher priority today, you put a plan in place and you implement that plan and it is successful. One of the things that seems, in my experience anyway, once you get a process rolling, you get the kinks out of it, it's easier to maintain than it is to create. And then now you can look at what's the next layer of thing to add onto that that's going to help me leap even higher. Is that?
No, you're absolutely on target. Absolutely on target. That's the way to do it. Get it going, get it operating smoothly, and then build on to the next phase.
What kind of feedback loops? What kind of feedback loops does a business owner need to look at in terms of their marketing effort? One of the things I've had conversations with managerial people in companies, and they're all that I had worked for, and they're always looking for what's for the return. If I'm going to do this, we're going to invest time, money, energy, and effort into this thing. How do I know what my results are? So what kind of thing, the obvious ones are money and customers, but are there some maybe not so obvious ones that are important for a business owner to look at as feedback on these concepts?
Oh, I think there are several things. Obviously, you want to look at the bottom line and what's going to generate revenue, but then are you getting referrals? How is your reputation? How are you being perceived? Is it better than when you started? Have you enhanced your reputation? Mm-hmm. Have you created more value to your name? Have people looked at you on a more positive basis?
Mm-hmm.
Do they talk about you in a positive manner? Have you created programs that build off of that? For example, a very simple program's been around for years. Referral rewards.
Right.
Refer business to me, you get a gift or you get points, and those points add up where you can redeem them through a catalog with different items.
Right.
That you can get from almost anybody in the promotional products distribution industry in your hometown. The key is managing what you can do, but focusing, as you started originally, on small businesses. And small is a very strange term, because
Right.
small is not just a person business; it can be a 50-person business.
True.
But it is the key to have a plan in place. Don't shoot from the hip. Basically, have a plan, follow the plan, modify that plan when you see things that can either that aren't working or that need to be strengthened even more. So, do that. Any businessman, even operating out of a home, can have a plan in place.
And I think with that, that is probably one of the more significant things that we've talked about, is that somebody should have a take the time and energy to look through these possibilities and plan some things out. Les, we're reaching the end of our second segment here, and we got to wrap things up. I do want to let the folks know that they can send those queries into info@referencepointtv.com. Also, Les mentioned a couple of the groups that he has on LinkedIn, where you can get some questions answered about marketing activities for your business and whatever. And do check out their website, because there's other fabulous data up there that can help you as a business owner. Les, thank you so much for taking the time and effort to be with us here on Reference Points. Greatly appreciated. Fantastic information, and I hope the people out there have taken it to heart. So thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Very cool. Thank you again, and that's it for now. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Reference Point.